pay-per-view and fan meow. It was announced Tuesday night. The announcement didn't specify how many rounds they will fight or what size gloves they will use. Stephen A., you are up first here. Is this fight bad for boxing?
I think it is. I don't like it. I'm not knocking the Pauls, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, like some people have, because paying attention to the world of boxing, promoters have been, controlling the sport for far too long. And when you have promoters controlling the sport, not giving you the fights that you want to see, the fact that a guy like Jake Paul has about 14.8 million, Instagram followers, I have to pay attention to that. I mean, I'm looking at Logan Paul's numbers here. He's got 19.1 million Instagram followers. So he's got an audience there, him and his brother. And, I get all of that. In the sport of boxing, I mean, listen, if you can make the fight on your own and you don't have to use the promoters to do it, they can't control who you're going to fight, when you're going to fight, what kind of audience you're going to end up having, et cetera, that's a beautiful thing. And that's something that can't be ignored, and we understand that. The flip side to it is that I think that I feel sorry for the boxers, because you got legitimate professional boxers out there. I'm not saying that Jake Paul and Logan Paul don't put in the work. Please don't get me wrong. I'm sure that they do, and they work very hard at it from what I'm told. Matter of fact, they're getting trained by professionals and stuff like that. And so I understand they're taking it very, very seriously, and they're to be commended for it, even though they're not going up against, real boxers as of yet. But if you're Floyd Money Mayweather, why? And I, when you talk about an exhibition against Conor McGregor, that's different. He was the biggest star in the UFC. You were the biggest star in boxing. He talked a lot of trash, wanted it, and all of that stuff. And it was incredibly, incredibly entertaining, even though we all knew that Conor McGregor wasn't a boxer per se, even though he was obviously an elite striker in the UFC. I'm just looking at Floyd, and I'm just like, he's going to toy with this guy, etc. I just don't believe that people who don't have a resume per se, because I think Logan Paul only had, his record's 0-1 or 1-1, something along those lines, and he's boxed a total of 6 rounds. I don't think someone like that should be in the ring with Floyd Money Mayweather, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, we have ever seen. Yeah. It should be a privilege to be in the ring with Floyd Money Mayweather.
Max, where are
That's
you on
not
this?
something that should happen in an exhibition. I just feel
I'll tell you why Floyd is doing this. When you say Floyd, why? Because Floyd Mayweather has made more money since he supposedly retired than he did up in his entire career up to the De La Hoya fight. Because he's getting paid absurd money to box exhibitions against novices. So why wouldn't he do it? And I'm not like a lot of boxing people here, Stephen A. What you just said made a lot of sense in terms of the kind of orthodoxy that the boxing establishment feels when they see stuff like this. And a lot of boxing fans, they feel like it's a sideshow and everything else. Look, boxing has been marginalized in mainstream culture, mainstream sports culture. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it hasn't. Let me tell you the people, because I had Jake Paul on Max on Boxing a couple weeks ago. Let me tell you the people who he says have come to him and said, we love what you're doing for boxing. Mike Tyson, Oscar De La Hoya. It's Floyd Mayweather who's fighting Logan Paul in this exhibition, right? Like Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Mike Tyson. These are the 3 biggest box office attractions in boxing in the last how many decades? And they recognize it. They say, we like it. You know who likes it? Jermell Charlo, Stephen A. He's like, yeah, I want to fight on the undercard. Because these fighters recognize that they're bringing eyeballs to combat sports. And the way boxing has handled this in the past has not been good. The boxing establishment felt very threatened by the UFC. Not just by MMA, but by the UFC's success in particular. And I've been saying for a long time now, really decades now, instead of being threatened by it, use it as an introduction to combat sports. They're introducing new audiences to combat sports. Go to those people, say, you like combat sports? Maybe you'd like to check us out, instead of being hostile toward it. People they need to know the characters involved to be interested, and they have to believe that there's an interesting obstacle in the way. So they know Floyd. They know Logan Paul. Okay, Floyd is much more experienced, but he's old and he's much smaller. So some people, the less informed, think maybe Logan has a chance to win, right? I understand making a big event. That's what they're doing. And I also understand that if boxing, as you touched on, would give the fans the fights they want to see, instead of a dude coming off a signature win.
Like the UFC does.
Like the UFC does. Like Dana's a boxing fan who was frustrated for years and tried to correct the mistakes he saw in boxing in the UFC. Big part of the success. I've been talking to Dana about this for decades. Stephen A., you're right when you touch on that. Guy comes off a big win. Why are you putting him in against setup like fights that everyone knows the other guy has no chance and they don't even know the other guy?
Hold on, Max.
This answers that.
Well, let me chime in here. I think you're misconstruing what I'm trying to say. I don't disagree with your points. I think they're incredible points, by the way. And I think that it's great for the sport of boxing, for example, if boxers can become a part of it where they won't need the promoters to give the public the fights that they want to see. I love the notion of this potentially being something that could bypass the conventional, traditional promoters that have gotten in the way of giving us the fights that we want to see. I personally, listen, I'm a fan of Al Heyman's and the phenomenal work that he's done over the years, and Bob Arum, and I love and respect all of these guys. But damn it, when Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford out there, and we're clamoring for that fight, we should have it. We shouldn't have had to wait 5 years, for Pacquiao and Mayweather to take place and stuff like that. So I get it. And if this is a conduit towards, leaning towards you being able to bypass those promoters to give fighters the fight that they want to see, I respect that. In the case of Logan Paul, I respect the fact that he's going to step into a ring with Floyd Money Mayweather, even more so than Floyd stepping into the ring with him, because, my God, this person shouldn't even be able to touch you. What I don't condone is, as much as I respect Jake Paul, because I think that he takes it seriously, from everything that I've been told in terms of his training, people who are teaching him, he's not taking it for granted. He puts in the work, and he's to be respected for that. You can't beat up a basketball player. If you're going to get in the ring with somebody, you need to get in the ring with somebody, as you would use the words you used, Max, was muscle memory. Because guess what? Because of what Jake Paul does with himself, he could actually be arrested for doing that stuff on the street.
Stephen A., Jake Paul was a beginner too. That's not, I hear what you're saying. First of all, let me say, I hear what you're saying.
But he fought somebody that doesn't even fight at all. At least Logan Paul is fighting somebody that fights.
What I'm saying, if a dude is 1-0, which Jake Paul was, right? By the way, I said a couple weeks ago, I had him on this last Friday. If a dude is 1-0, which what Jake Paul was, he's not responsible for making sure the other dude's taking it seriously in training. Jake Paul can't
Max, I'm talking, but they don't fight, Max. You got to remember, listen, you cover boxing. You know everybody in boxing. You hear a lot of noise about the work that Jake Paul has put in over years.
That's why I respect that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, but when you getting in the ring with somebody like Nate Robinson, come on, Max.
Well, put in the work, Nate.
Listen, we understand that Nate Robinson might have been foolish to do that, and I'm certainly not trying to knock him right now. My point is that you're not supposed to get into the ring with somebody like that when you know what you've been doing. When you know what you've been doing.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but if you got 1 or 2 fights, you're going to fight another inexperienced dude.
That's professional, Max. What about all the rounds that he's put in? You know this, just like you heard the same stuff I've been hearing.
When pros are built early in their careers, they're usually put in with mismatches in order for them to gain experience. And in this case,
not people who don't fight at all.
In this case, Jake Paul is making events that people are interested in. Do you